Okay, so for the first topic, I think we've been kind of talking about this one for a little bit. You have a friend or coworker, I think, that was wanting to start a podcast.
Yeah, it's friend.
Yeah, a friend that wanting to start a podcast and kind of thinking about like the gear that you need for it.
Yeah.
And kind of how to start recording a podcast. Anybody can do a podcast. You can do podcasts about anything. You can kind of whatever. But there's to say you need this type of stuff or whatever. It's like all like it's like subject. Yeah, like everybody's different. It's like saying like what you need to play guitar.
Well, this is like how we do it.
Yeah.
I guess,
so I think
more like
these are our tips and how we record a podcast and how we are different scenarios. So right now, how we're doing it is different than how we do it over online if we're in separate locations. And then we're going to be trying a couple of different things when you're in Texas.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you need to have the belt suspenders mentality. And like you need to have like backup for your backups. So I think we've kind of gone over different ways. I guess maybe how we're doing it now.
This very second.
You might be able to see it on camera here. So sometimes I have it out of shot, but this time I kind of wanted it here. So we're using a portable recorder. We're using a Zoom H6. We're got the two. It's got 4 mics in it. We're using 2 of them, and then it has the gain control on it, whatever. And then our mics, as you can see here, I'm using just like a vocal stage mic. I'm using the E835.
Yeah, works great.
Sennheiser.
Yeah,
and that's like what you would use to sing into when you're playing live in a band on stage. And then you're using a little step up there, and even
SM7.
Yep, from Shure.
Yep,
and that's kind of like the broadcast standard. Even just a recording. It's like, I was like, I could even just see the box there. I was gonna say exactly what's on the box. It's a legendary vocal mic.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Sure. That was exactly. It's because you can use it for singing. This is probably one of your best all around mics because you can use it in the studio for singing. You can use it for, like talking, like broadcasts. Like I'm sure if you watch like Joe Rogan, you can see a lot of the other podcasts. Like this is just a standard for whatever.
Yeah. Partially
Partially because of the pickup pattern of it, it blocks out a lot of noise.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it before, but talking to episode I did with Scott Hamilton from the Effects Loop over there, he talked about it. It's like, these are great if you're just in noisy situations. And if you think about it, because the further you're going to go from that mic, you're not going to be able to hear it. So
if I'm talking and I'm going farther back, I can even hear my own headset that it is very.
You might not even be able to be able to hear them anymore, right. Which is good if there's like noisy stuff in the background. Because like, we'll get to where we're recording right now. It's not the most ideal situation. So I'm kind of just, it's a little patchwork with this one. So just kind of follow me as I go. It's all ideas I got going on in my head. I think you can see on Reddit and stuff like that, like people say like, what do you need for a podcast? And people like think of like, oh, you need sound treatment. You need these, these like bass traps. You need all this stuff. You need like a professionally sound treated studio. You need the fucking the Rode like podcaster thing that costs what $600. You need these mics specifically. I'm like, no, you don't need any of that.
You could record into your voice memos on your phone.
Yeah, you could.
You really could.
Even the mic that you're using you totally don't need it. Yeah. But you invested in that because you wanted it for gaming, for recording, and like for vocals. That's an investment. You're never gonna not.
Yeah.
Like,
so the mic, also the cloud lifter setup.
Yes. So
I could show it, right?
Yeah. See if we can get that.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
This thing.
So that's got a power. Like the SM7 is like not a very powerful mic, not strong signal. So to kind of kick that up to be able to be recorded, we use that, and that gives it like, I think 25 decibels of gain.
Yeah, and your recorder to enable to work this has to have a 48 volt feed, right? It's got to power this device, the cloud lifter.
Yeah, so that's going to power the cloud lifter to give it enough juice to go into the device, which we're using the H6. I'm not going to move it.
Yeah.
But we have here
similar.
Yep, right? An H5, which this is where we started on.
Right, I'll hold it closer.
So that one has 2 XLR inputs at the bottom here, and then you can change these capsules out here at the top. So if you want to get something else, or even just make it even smaller to move around, you can. This could be cool to like throw it in your like, I don't know, backpack or whatever. If you don't even need this, so you can put like the different capsules on here. This is not an ad for Zoom, by the way.
This is what they call these cardioids, or
this is an XL or an XY, I think, condenser.
XY condenser.
So it's like a stereo mic, so you can pick up, like you can see it goes. This mic's going there, that one's going there. You can pick up more of it. And we've done a podcast too where we were using this, where it only has the 2 channels, and
picking up the room.
We picked up Johnny because he stopped by like unexpectedly and we just hung out. I'm like, okay, cool. We're gonna pick up ourselves here. And then I kind of pointed this towards him.
Yeah.
And I was able to mix his track separate from ours and get it working.
Nice.
So it's super handy. They're not super expensive, but they're not like, oh, you get it for like, $70. It's probably, I think, like a couple $100. These are
$150 or something for that, or was it $200?
Probably $220, $250, something like that.
All right.
So it's totally worth it though, because with these portable recorders, you can record either like one mixed down.
Yeah, or
so whatever you're listening to, you can have it all mixed down, and then you don't have to edit. You don't get a chance to edit. You kind of get your waveform, and then you don't have to have separate tracks. I like to have separate tracks, and then these portable recorders will record everything in separate tracks, and you can take that, put it into your DAW, and mix it later. So this is how we're doing it. Like I said, this kind of patchwork here. So
yeah, but some people don't have a DAW, so you could just have that file, and that could be your.
That's it.
You submit. A lot of podcasts, that's how they do it. They don't do any editing.
Yep, you just drop that in. A podcast I listen to, Cumtown, very popular podcast.
They are
very like successful podcast. The name is dumb. They used not the H6, the H5 for I think 2 or 3 years until it died. And they never mixed anything. They never changed anything. And you can hear how crappy the recording is. It still is kind of the part of the charm of it.
Yeah.
They never mixed anything. That was it. Because it got it down. He didn't want to. They didn't even have that. So they kind of take that, move the file, and then they just load it up to their, like this hosting. To me, I like to have them separate so that I can edit. And these allow you to do so with the waveforms. And we've been able to that's how we started, is by kind of, actually, no, how we did start, I went overkill.
Oh,
I was using a laptop. I was using my 8-channel interface into Pro Tools.
And recording live into Pro Tools.
Yeah. Dang. Which is it's totally fine, but that was so overkill to have to bring that back and forth to do the show.
Well, that, not to say that you have to do that, but that's just what we had.
That's what we had at the time. And so I invested in that so that I can record drums and all this stuff like that. So it wasn't like a waste that I bought that thing. And I didn't buy that thing just for recording the podcast, by the way.
It's just something we had on hand, and that's
what I had.
We did that for a while, right?
Oh, I probably the first 15 to 20 episodes, I would say. And then until we wised up and got one of these, it's great. This thing still works, and Kyle's going to take it, but I have been using this at home for my videos. I record the audio separate from the camera, and I sync it up in Final Cut. So, but what we do with the podcast here is I'm able to take all these tracks into Pro Tools, and I'm able to edit them. That's how I like it. Before, I was recording straight into Pro Tools so I can edit them. And so I do edit the podcast. Let's see. I think I can do some clips here now. So this is what you're hearing and what you've heard from the whole beginning of the podcast. I'm using gate to cut out any noise that I can cut out. So as far as the room, as far as maybe you got some noisy neighbors, maybe
airplane.
Yeah. Sometimes we mention jokes on the podcast, oh yeah, you can hear that, and then you actually don't hear it because the gate cuts it out. So noise gate is kind of gets you a threshold of what below this level of noise or the sound is going to cut it out. And then that's a really dumbed down way of describing it. So people who are engineers, well, actually,
get on the horn on that one.
And then I put a compressor on both vocal tracks individually to kind of level it, and then the peaks and stuff like that. Because on here you can put EQ and gate and compression on here on the Zoom, but I don't really notice a difference, and I kind of just like to be able to. And
you just want a raw track.
Yeah, much more comfortable editing in my DAW. But you might not be like, you might not have a DAW.
Because once it's on there, you can't, once it's been recorded, you can't take it off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you might, if you have a better processing technique, you might want to just do that and not.
But toy with it. And then the episodes that I did toy with it, you probably couldn't tell. So it's like, you don't get too crazy on here. And then also I put an EQ. So those are the 3 things that I use on every vocal track. And so you're hearing this now, and then I'm going to, this is just the raw stuff. So you can hear maybe Kyle and I talking.
Yeah, I mean, I can throw a couple words in here.
Yeah.
You know?
And you might be able to tell the difference too, the difference in microphones. I think I do with editing, you really can't tell a difference.
But the raw, you probably can tell a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between that mic,
I've never actually heard the raw, so
the mic, that mic is a lot more bass response, and it picks it up.
I mean, if you want to get low, we can try and do it.
And then this one here, so that's what it sounds like, and this would sound like if I add just the EQ. So
wow,
you can still
snap
hear
your fingers. Yeah, and just anything's possible.
Yeah, you can hear that difference, and then this is
you could solve world peace, but you're just snapping your fingers.
This is like Thanos compression and back on, and then. And so that's what it does, and then the Thanos snap back on gate. You might not be able to hear a much of a difference like individually, but when you put them all together versus just the raw tracks, I think it does make a difference. It might not do much now because it's not super noisy. We're a little bit later, but sometimes like we've recorded during the day, or like we
missed the fireworks.
Yeah, fireworks going on.
7:45.
Mm-hmm. And then the dogs barking, the fucking
guy
neighbors.
running his weed whacker, and then trimming trees. And
so you can hear a lot of stuff.
He waits to see your truck outside, and then
he's like, "Oh, time to go, time to go."
Sharpen the blades up.
Yeah, and so I don't know, kind of your editing. It really depends on what type of thing you want to do.
Yeah.
So, what type of podcast you want to be? A lot of podcasts, like some of them, can do hella editing, and some of them. They have their professional studios.
It's also like what you're comfortable doing. I mean, you like doing that. I mean, to an extent. I know that you probably get tired of a lot of it, but I think you enjoy tweaking and messing with things and making things sound the best they can be, but they don't necessarily have to be. And it's still the content of the product that you're trying to put out.
Yeah, you're trying to have just a good conversation and trying to put it out. Not to say
which I think is probably more important.
That is probably the first thing. And like with those,
not that we're saying ours is amazing.
No, not at all. But it's like some of the things like, what should I do? Should I get a room? Should I invest in a room and all these like expensive mics? Should I do this? What about outboard? And I even saw some people were saying like, oh, should I get a distressor and somebody said a UA compressor.
Yeah.
And like, tube preamps. I don't even have that for what? For your podcast?
They make those?
No, for your podcast, you're going to have a real
studio gear.
Yeah, these things are like $2,000.
Yeah.
And you're going to invest in that? I'm like,
cool, get it, dude.
I don't think that's worth it at all. And then I asked Kyle before. And so he said, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to pull the curtain back here so you can see where we're recording. So if you're watching on YouTube and you can see like, oh, well, do you have to have anything professional? Like, no, it's literally like you might. Like,
yeah, this is a window with my workbench that I have never cleaned.
And because it can get hot in here, the window is open. So that's kind of one thing. And then you can see.
Yeah.
We got.
Like it's a bolt's just waiting to fall off and make noise.
So this is like a workbench that needs some work, but
it's more of a bench than work. Wait, what?
So yeah. So you can see these are just normal drapes. They're not really like sound dampening drapes or whatever.
But they are game changers.
There's it looks cooler. And
they made it so I didn't have to clean up that spot.
Yeah, there's no bass traps. We don't have any like professional acoustics in here. Like seriously, if you go on that Reddit, people think that you need to have these things. You don't.
Yeah.
I am using just a staged vocal mic, $100 into a portable recorder, and that's it. I'm not using any preamps, not doing anything, nothing, no settings on here. And Kyle is using a little bit more robust setup here.
I mean, it's way better.
It is cool.
And let's just say it right there. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but
and even just the mic stand he's using is very cool. It's a desk. It's like a studio. Yeah, it's the Gator Frameworks one.
Yeah.
And it looks damn good. It's not in the way. I just happen to have here kick drum stand. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, I need that. Yep. And then like, it's like, if you're going to have like, gonna mic up a guitar cab or this is what we had when we started.
That's why you don't touch this thing, because it squeaks like a motherfucker.
Yeah. A little squeaky mouse in here. And then, for me, we put on these, like
it's literally like a mic, like a stage mic.
Yep.
That you
would
expect on stage.
These little foam covers. They're like, you can get them like for $5 and you can get like 10 of them or something like that.
Don't get a red one because then you'll look like you have a clown nose.
Yeah.
We found that out.
Get the blue one here.
Get one that's like black.
And this thing's probably 10 years old. So yeah.
Yeah. It's Corona approved.
Yeah. This is pre-Corona.
It's like tuberculosis approved.
It's pre-pandemic, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's probably pre-war.
Yeah.
No, actually.
Anyways. But so you don't need a whole lot. It is a lot cooler. So you can, this wasn't planned this way, but you can just see that looks so much more professional. It does sound better, I would say. But, this still works. So if you're not doing a video podcast, like you don't need all that stuff. But if you are, you still don't need all that stuff. It's still, so that it's like, you can totally move this around. That'd be like a thing if like you ever see, this is actually like literally the one that is on Joe Rogan. And
I had it before Joe, though.
Yeah, Joe.
I just want to say that I'm not trying to copy Joe.
Mm-hmm. And I say that, but he's probably one of the most known podcasters.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's not like, you got to do that because he does. It's totally not necessary. But the mic does help with blocking out sound. So I do, if you are in a noisy, environment, maybe you have a lot of echo, maybe just getting a rug, and then this mic could help. Or if you don't care, or if you feel like you can edit more, if really... Like you don't even need mic stands. You've seen we've done podcasts where we're just holding the mic.
Dude, we've done them where we're laying in bed.
Yeah.
Wearing our boxers.
Yeah. Separate beds though. But nothing wrong if it was the same one. Nothing wrong with that.
We're, a bunch of comfortable guys,
So you don't need even mic stands because
seriously, you don't need them.
You can just get started.
Some of your podcasts don't even use a mic stand, right?
Yeah, I think it was the Tasteless Gentleman, I think went maybe 130 episodes. Like they were like 4 years, 5 years. And then people were complaining, like, why don't you guys get mic stands? Why don't you get mic stands? And they finally got them. It's like, you guys happy?
Yeah. No.
Exactly.
No.
But it's So now this is how we're doing it now. And then how we do it when we're separate, I guess, is a little different. We talk over Google Hangouts. So we've done Skype before, but Hangouts seems to work the best.
Yeah.
And when we have guests on, we talk over Skype or Hangouts. And we have to do it from a computer because these things they don't know Wi-Fi. These portable recorders.
These things.
Did
they make one that has one?
I have no idea. Don't really care. But don't know, don't care. So what I do with that is we'll go, either Kyle's computer or my computer. And let's say the ones where it's just Kyle and I separate. We were doing that when during the beginning of the lockdown or whatever for about last year about this time. We were staying safe, staying apart, and so we're doing it from our homes. And we both were talking over Hangouts, but we each had our own recording program. We each had a DAW, and we recorded our voice. I was recording Kyle's incoming voice, and then also mine, so then I can get his streamed, over Hangouts voice, which is still pretty good. I think some of those episodes we had a problem like getting your track to me or whatever, so I used just the streamed Hangout one. So that's kind of like just a safety net for me in case I can't get it or something happens to your track or whatever. So that's the best way. So if you're recording and you're doing guests or whatever, if they can record their audio, that's the best. That way they can send it to you, and then you have a better sounding source, just from the source, not streamed online. And then you can just line it up. So what I normally would do is kind of be like, okay, the guest, I'm like, can you
give me 3 claps, 4 claps?
Yeah, and you kind of see the spike there, and then you can...
3 claps this time.
Yeah, on to the back. and then you slide to the left, and then you kind of see the spike in the waveform. and then you match it up. And then you get rid of the, your shitty recorded one that they did, and then you put it with the good one that they sent you. And then that's how it works. I've been a guest on podcasts, and that's what I do.
Yeah. When we first started doing the remote, we got some compliments on the sound of my voice, which I was, gave me definitely a confidence boost.
Nice confidence boost.
Thanks, everybody.
Confidence boost.
Thanks for looking out for me.
Yeah.
Numero uno.
And then when we started what we were doing, it's just like, I think I just wasn't, I didn't know a whole lot, or I didn't know everything that I do now about my interface. I didn't also know it about my DAW, that you can record incoming tracks and you don't need to fucking, this is a mistake I was doing. I was taking the headphone output of the, I think the Claret or whatever, or out of something, and then feeding it back into the Pro Tools session. Because I didn't even know that you could record, they call it loops.
Yeah.
And you create a loop track in your, kind of your, it's almost like it's feeding like whatever it feeds the interface from online. So if you're listening to YouTube or whatever
it was, you were just looping that back into a separate...
I was like with a cable back into...
You're doing your own loop.
Exactly. So I was doing that loop there.
Dang.
So, but we did a couple podcasts like that because I was figuring out my shit. So you can create just like a loop track digitally and then just throw that in your DAW, record that. And then, so that was one that I learned, and it drastically improved the sound quality of the podcast.
Yeah.
For my backup tracks, if I didn't happen to get a good one from you or guests. And sometimes I'll have guests on that they can't record their own audio. They don't know how to, they don't have the ability to. So you just try and get the things set up as good as you can. Sometimes it would be like, I don't even have a computer. Cool. Well, if you have a smartphone, you can download Hangouts and we could talk over that, and then just try to have like earbuds, like AirPods, or like the little, like something with a mic instead of just like talking to your phone and although we've had guests like that and that works.
Yeah. I'd also make sure that your, your not sample rate, but is it your sample rate is on the same. So we've had it before where somehow my computer got knocked back into like 44.
Yeah.
But you do it in 48. So it was like, I was talking real slow.
Yeah. So you want to make sure you're both recording at the same sample rate.
Yeah.
So sample rate would be like, you would look at like 44.1 kilohertz.
Yeah.
And then, or 48 kilohertz. And then you also have like the size, which could be 16-bit or 24-bit. And so that is like kind of like the quality of it.
Yeah.
I usually would do 48. Like this one I'm doing in 48 because it just matches up with video better. But for most of the podcasts, when they were just audio, I go 44:16, just the smallest size you can get.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a difference. You can't hear it with audio, really. I only do 48 now because it matches up with the video better. Just in Final Cut. That's kind of an option. I'm like, it seems to work. I don't change it. I could test it to where I'm like, let's try 44 and see if it matches up with the video. And I'm like, it doesn't work. It works, and I don't need to change it. So that's for me.
Yeah.
But if you're doing audio only podcast, go fucking 44 16-bit. You're going to save a lot of space. And I convert them all to MP3s and upload them onto Podbean. That seems to work fine because you don't need to load waves.
You want to talk about Podbean?
Yeah, we ours are. I guess we what the hell was it? Podcast host.
Yeah,
is Podbean. It's not sponsored. You don't have to. I've heard other ones. I don't remember who Tone Control does, but they've kind of jumped around and they like their newest one, whatever it is. Yet again,
listen to them. I'm sure they'll talk about
it. And then some people have done SoundCloud. I've heard, I don't know, good or bad things. I think you can complain about anything. So whatever works.
Oh, what you got?
Yeah. So we do Podbean. It's fine. We do pay for the hosting. And that's something of like, if you're going to do a podcast and it has like, you're doing more than one a week or like one a month.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay for it. So, it's not a whole lot. So yeah. Let's see. It's pretty much, I guess it.
For the audio, I mean, do you want to talk about what you do for video or what?
Video.
Specifically, I mean,
I'm using a Sony A6400. I'm just doing it 24 frames per second. And then I basically just, what we do is in Final, I've talked about it on the show, so I can match up the audio. So what I do is I take all the audio, like I said, I mix it in Pro Tools in the DAW, and I get all like, some background noise out of it or whatever I can, and then get it as clean and best sounding as possible, bounce it down to a waveform. And then I make sure before we start recording and, the video is recording, I do, and then you can see spikes on the camera's audio. So I guess I'm recording audio in the video.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm recording audio on the video that I don't use.
Back it up.
I only have it for syncing because I will then in Final Cut take the video and then it has the clap spike for audio. And then I will dump the mixed, mastered, down podcast in there. And then because of the claps, there's a button, like little just option. You can click the video track and the audio track, sync, less than 30 seconds. It's done. Like,
dang,
you don't have to move things around and be like, oh, is that, because it does it for you. It's awesome. So it cuts down a lot on editing time. So if you're doing that with your podcast, you want to do video podcasts, that's helpful. So, I think with a lot of these things, and I think the biggest thing is you don't need a lot of stuff to get started. Things will help you improve and it'll be nicer. So let's say, if you want to get nicer mics later on, that's cool. That'll be helpful. I think the Rode ones are very cool. The Rode pod mics, no problems with those. SM7's really great. I think they came with the V7s, so it's a little cheaper option from Shure. Still like a podcast kind of mic is what they're going for, even with USB capability on there.
Nice.
So that's something you could do too. I know our friends, Tone Control, for years. Derek was using a USB Blue mic. I think he's talked about it, like a Blue Yeti.
Dang.
Just USB.
Yeah.
Yep. That's into GarageBand. So that's it. And then they record remotely. So like the guys are in different states.
Yeah.
Derek and Justin. So that's what they do. And then he just sends Justin the good audio file, and then they're, so you don't need an expensive mic either. You just have a plug-in one and then just record it into, your GarageBand there. So there's many different ways of doing it. You just kind of want to get the cleanest audio that you can. But even if you just have your phone, you could still do that. If there's a way you can, I guess, send that to maybe upload it to your computer so you could throw it on a podcast.
Yeah, you can throw it into, a Google Drive, or you could do right into there and then you can pull it into your computer or whatever.
Yeah. So there's so many different ways
really
of doing it. And so, like your friend, hopefully he watches this and get a lot of things out of it. Sure. Hopefully people watching this, if they want to start.
Austin Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully he can huge shout out. Hopefully he learned something from this, and hopefully any listeners that want to do
I learned stuff from this.
A podcast. Well, you're going to be taking this. So I guess
I'm going to be taking that.
So one thing that we're going to do, so like I said, the belt suspender mentality, what we're doing. So Kyle's taking this one with him. So in case he can't do like what we said when we do the separate podcast where he's got his SM7 going into his Claret or his Scarlett Focusrite deal there. So it's just he's recording into his DAW, which is Reason, and then he can send me that track. We can do. I'm shaking the table.
Will
here.
This power this?
It can on batteries. So another cool thing with this is these are batteries. This you can see the zoom here. We're powering because we've done it. I think we were going like 30, 40 episodes, batteries only on this. The H5. We had one podcast that just died in the middle of it. Yeah, I think it was the Montel Jordan's one, that band. I think we were like...
smoke break.
No, yeah, we were talking about technical difficulties on stage. And then that one kicked out in the middle. Like, what a perfect time to do that. So you can do power on here, which I highly recommend. But you can also do fucking battery powered, which is really cool. And they last a long time. That's why it went out, because I'm like, we just never had this fucking thing go out. So we're doing remote podcasts. So if you ever listen to the ones where we do it from NAM in like
on
the hotel,
floor.
Mm-hmm. Or even on the floor in the hotel, whatever, it's good to go. And then this just has a little USB micro USB deal there, and you just put this SD card, whatever you want to call it. You just take this, put it. There's the audio, and you just kind of drag that and put it into your computer there. So, like I said, Kyle's gonna be taking this so that in case, and I would say probably wouldn't be a good idea to use that. Let's say if you're like, oh, I can't, get whatever reception or whatever. I don't know. Internet's not working. My computer's not working. Whatever. The DAW's not working. We're gonna talk on the phone, and he's just gonna be holding a mic, and I'll do the same thing with
the audio.
Yep. We'll just be talking over, a phone call. And then we're doing that. I'm like, okay, Kyle, let's match up our audio. We do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and you kind of get it to where it matches up. Like, okay, we're good now. So and then he'll send me that, and I'll match it up to what I got. And that's how you can also record. And like, if you don't have internet, but the other person has maybe they have a recording program on their phone. I don't know.
Yeah,
there's so many different ways of doing it. So. Hopefully you got some ideas. Your buddy got some ideas. The listener got some ideas. Hopefully, if you're starting a podcast and you're wondering how to do it, it's not that hard. And you're going to learn more different things on the way. You might not need a fucking MacBook Pro and a 8-channel interface. You could,
definitely.
You could do it with one of these. So learn from my mistake here.